everyone, and welcome to the Hazy Sports Podcast. I'm Jason Brown, joined as always by my good friend and co-host, Charlie Ashbury. Charlie, how you doing today?
Really good, Jason. We're coming off an almost historical night.
I thought we were going to have some good podcast content for that. We're going to be touching on player milestones later, but yeah, we were texting back and forth during that Blackhawks Capitals game, thinking what a story it would be if Ovi got all three last night, and we could be chatting about that today. He got two with a point blank chance at the end to get three, and he had tons of chances to get it, but didn't quite get it done. But that would have been exciting.
Yeah, I can't believe like that slot chance at the end. He probably buries that 9 times out of 10. And Spencer Knight didn't even see the puck. Like it hit him in the shoulder. Like it was. I thought I actually jumped up out of my seat thinking he had it. But anyways, yeah.
So now that sets up Capitals Islanders tomorrow in Long Island. When do you think the last time as many people have watched the Islanders as will be watching them tomorrow? You got to go back to the 80s?
The heyday. Yeah. The thing I was thinking about this morning, and I meant to check before we came on here, but I bet you the resale Islanders market just went up about 9,000%. Like if you have a season ticket, this is your chance to cash in here.
Big time, and I think it's going to happen. I think Gretzky's going to be there with Bettman, and it was funny seeing Gretzky wants to be there because Howe was there when he broke the record, but you can just tell like he does not want this thing to drag on. He does not want to go to whatever 6 or 7 more regular season games, and I think he was hoping it got wrapped up there in Washington against the Blackhawks last night.
And then like the weird right after he scored there to tie it, and they quickly go to this impromptu interview. It was so awkward. But I mean, good on Wayne. Like he was pretty classy. Not that he would not be classy about it, but to just on the spot, come up with what he said, and I thought that was pretty cool. But I agree, there's no way he wants this to go into next week.
Especially hanging with Bettman, I can't see that being a great party.
No, he's not a great hang.
So we got lots to get into. I did want to give a quick shout out to Val Kilmer here. Rest in peace, Val. He passed away this week, but what a career in terms of some epic roles that he played in. Any of your favorites that jump to mind as you look back on his career?
The one I always think of, and I think it was just because my parents owned the movie, but the movie Top Secret. Did you ever see that movie?
I don't think so. I've heard people talking about it since he passed.
So it was like a Naked Gun kind of, way over the top comedy. And it must have been one of his first movies because he was super young in it. But I bet you I watched that movie 20 times. Like if I put it on right now, I could probably still quote all the jokes. So that for me is my favorite. How about you?
My favorite movie with Val Kilmer in it is Heat, the one with Pacino and De Niro as well. And I love Val Kilmer in that movie, but I got to go chalk on this one. My favorite role is Doc Holliday.
Well, that's a good one.
I was Tombstone when I was in college was always one we'd put on after the bar. I don't know, just probably watched that like 100 times. And so, yeah, that's definitely one of his more iconic roles. But you got to love the Iceman too. And
yeah, for sure.
When you look at his catalog, it's surprising how many movies. I forgot he was Batman there for a while.
Yeah. That one totally, I don't remember that one at all. Like, I remember the Michael Keaton one, but I don't really remember the Val Kilmer one. And I guess you can't, I mean, The Doors was a good movie. That one, I should probably watch that one again because I think we were pretty young when I did watch it. But yeah, quite the career. Shitty end. That's too bad.
Well, we'll have to throw a couple of those classic movies on over the next week or two to revisit his career. But we're here to talk about sports, hockey specifically. Aside from the NHL, we've got CHL playoffs in full swing. We're not going to get into that too much today, but as we get closer to the Memorial Cup, we're going to do a little breakdown there. We've got the Frozen Four action coming up this week. Semifinals on Thursday and then the finals on Saturday. We've got a special bonus mini episode we're going to be doing to drop on Wednesday just to get everybody fired up and do a little preview on that. NHL wise though, we're getting closer, like you said, to the playoffs. We're about 2 weeks away right now. Most of the playoff spots are pretty much solidified. In the West, there's 3 teams kind of still battling it out. Calgary is 5 points back, but they have 2 games in hand, so they're still alive. St. Louis, 11 games in a row. This is crazy. They're a point ahead of the Wild now, but I guess you'd have the Blues, Calgary, and the Wild kind of in the mix for those last 2 wild card spots in the West.
I can't believe the St. Louis run. Like, it's not like they're beating bottom feeders either. Like, they're running and gunning with the best teams in the West. And I can't say enough about, firing your coach just because somebody better is available. Like, there's such a great move. And now you add Jimmy Snuggeroods coming up, and he looked pretty good his first game. They're just on a tear right now.
They're going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs, the confidence they have and the way they're playing. But yeah, it's almost hard to believe that roster could have been doing so poorly, and that, sometimes it's crazy to think that just switching a coach can swing the momentum that much.
Well, and they were like 3 weeks before the trade deadline, they were saying, are we going to just unload? Like, Braden Shenton's name was getting tossed around, and then all of a sudden you pull off this, insane run, and it seems like such a crazy thing that they were even going to potentially trade any of these guys. Binnington's name was getting tossed around. Like, it's sometimes you just got to stand pat, I guess, and trust your guys.
I think Binnington's performance at the Four Nation just seemed like the catalyst to this whole thing. He came back with some magic, and the team rallied around it, and the new coaching. So there's something special going on there in St. Louis. Over in the East, we've still got the same group of teams battling it out for those last couple spots. Any thoughts of how you think that's going to pan out?
Well, as of today, we got a couple awesome matchups first round. Like, Leafs Ottawa, I think is just going to be insane for Canadian TV and just like, maybe this is the way we get some loud noise in the Scotiabank Arena when you're playing, provincial rival. So I really hope it stays like that. Now, that said, hopefully Brady Tkachuk can come back from whatever's keeping him out. But then people are kind of sleeping on Tampa Bay, but they kind of look like they got their championship form back. And Vasilevsky's just been a beast lately. So them against the Panthers is an interesting matchup. And then I'm hoping Montreal gets in, because I just want to see that arena in those 2 home games. I think it's going to be electric. Not to mention just injecting some youth into the playoffs. Like, I don't know. I'm sure you've seen the Lane Hudson highlights and stuff. And Caulfield and Suzuki, and those guys just look like another fun team to watch, kind of like a St. Louis, where it's just they don't know any better. They're just gonna go out and win. Like, it's awesome.
Well, you're getting me fired up here for the playoffs, Charlie. A couple weeks away, but there is a few teams. I think Columbus is still in the hunt. Somehow the Wings are still not out of it. They beat the Canes. Like, every time I want to just give up on the season, then they come up with a big win. So I'm not getting my hopes up. They got a pretty tough schedule, and they need a lot of teams in front of them to go on a losing skid. But hey, at least we're still playing meaningful hockey here at the end of the season.
For sure.
Why don't we jump right into our weekly hazing? Got a few fun topics to talk about.
Wave it off! Fuck, let's go! Fucking wear that stick at me again, you're gonna fucking eat it. Bare fucking teeth. You wanna get knocked out again? We got a guy for you!
Okay, so kicking off the weekly hazing here, we want to do a little touch on player milestones. We kind of teased it here in the beginning. Obviously, the biggest one we're tracking is the Ovi goal record. He scored 2 against the Blackhawks. He's now tied with Gretzky. Crazy how this is almost coming down to the exact same number of games played that they're going to be doing this in, and he's 1 away. So what's your general thoughts and feelings here as this record gets closer?
It's nuts that if he does do it Sunday, it's the exact amount of games that Gretzky did it in. But even more nuts is, so he's 39. To have 41 goals when you're 39 years old, and not only that, but he's only played 60 games this year. Like, that's ridiculous to still be pumping in the goals. So I looked it up, and in Gretzky's 38-year season, so when he was 38, he scored 9 goals. So for Ovi, I would say at probably the peak defense and goaltending that the league has ever seen, he's still pumping in 41 goals now. And if he wouldn't have broken his leg, he'd probably be knocking on 50 again. When this first happened, because I'm a diehard Gretzky guy, I didn't want this to happen, but you can't take anything away from this chase. Like this, to do it in this era and still be putting in 40 plus is unbelievable.
And when you watch him play, he's still got the jump in his step. He's still got that power, and he doesn't look like, he does get a lot of the goals on sort of the one-timer from the hash mark, but it's not like he's just relying on that. And he's just, his all-around game is phenomenal, and he looks like he's got 2 or 3 more good years in him at least.
Well, if you're putting in 40 now, like what's you could easily get 20, 25 next year. I guess it just depends how much you want to keep playing, but that's incredible. Incredible.
It's an awesome run. We may see that come to an end tomorrow against the Islanders. But the other big milestone was Makar getting 30 goals, just the 9th D-man to do that, and the first one since Mike Green. Nice little milestone there. That one seems to be a little bit under the radar. I think he's got bigger priorities with Colorado looking good, and kind of like you said with like Tampa, almost feels like they're coming in not under the radar, but you don't hear a lot of people talking about them. I guess they've just been playing so good, so consistently for so long that you kind of, there's just not much more to say or talk about with them.
No, and the shitty part is they're going to have to play Dallas too, which is going to, well, actually, Winnipeg's sort of in striking distance now for Dallas, but if those two match up, it's going to be too bad you're going to lose one of those teams. But we've talked about that before. But it's funny, I sent you that video of Paul Coffey breaking Bobby Orr's goal record. And if you haven't seen it, it's basically like watching a beer leaguer at the end of a shift weave through a whole team and buries it in a net, like with a goalie who's maybe 5'8". And then you flip over and you watch some of these Makar highlights, and I'm just like, he probably would have scored 150 goals back then. I know you can't do the era comparison, but he's definitely, it's almost like watching a forward play defense. Like the speed and power is nuts.
He's a generational talent, and he's just getting started. So it's going to be pretty fun watching him over the next 10 years or so.
For sure.
See, the Avs just signed his brother as well, Taylor. I hadn't heard much about him. Kind of got me excited. Two Makars on the team. It doesn't look like the future is quite as bright for him. He's a forward, but expecting he may play in the AHL for a bit. Could be a solid forward, but not one of the families like the Hudsons and the Hughes, where you're going to have multiple dominant players, but still kind of cool that have the 2 Makar brothers, they're playing for the Avs.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I don't know anything about them either, but, get them in the league.
Yeah,
see what happens.
Yeah. Was there any other player highlights you wanted to cover?
The only other one is out of nowhere, Nikita Kucherov now is going to probably win the Art Ross. It's pretty close between him and McKinnon, but he kind of snuck up the leaderboard there, and all of a sudden, like, he was leading this week, and then Nate had a pretty big game the other night. But that guy's just consistent, man. I love watching that guy play. He makes some of the most creative when they set up that power play. He's got these cross crease passes that I don't think anybody does any better than that guy.
Definitely a guy that doesn't get the hype that
Yeah.
some of the other big players, like if he wins the Art Ross, I feel like that's the quietest Art Ross chase
Yeah.
or winner in a while, where you don't hear people talking about him, because I guess he's one of those guys that's been doing it consistently. You don't see him on the highlights as much. He's playing in a market that, not a lot of people are watching a ton of Tampa Bay games, even though they're a great team. Just one of those guys that you get so used to doing it year after year that you almost forget about him, and he's there. He is, like you said, leading the league in points again. Well, that's a good segue into our NHL Player Award predictions. Why don't we start with the Hart Trophy discussion? A couple different ways you could go, but where are you leaning for this one?
So just before we came on, I checked out the latest odds because they go up and down. Like last week when Leon led the Oilers there to the win over Vegas, he jumped up to the favorite. So just before we signed in here, Hellebuck's now the favorite at -115. Nate McKinnon at +500. I kind of feel like he's not getting enough love here. I know they're kind of in the middle of the pack, and maybe they're a pretty loaded team, but I don't know. He's got a shot at the Art Ross, and they're definitely going to be in the playoffs. So +500 seems like a lot of value, but Leon's at +135. I think his chances are toast now that he's hurt again. But if you want to take a real long shot, Kucherov +8,000.
That's crazy, that he's that high. Again, just doesn't get the respect. Tampa Bay's doing well this year. He's leading the league in scoring. What does he need to do to get a little respect? I think it's because he's not great on the interviews. He just hasn't been the face of the NHL from a marketing standpoint.
Do you think they're going to give both the Hart and obviously the Vezina to Hellebuck? Like, I feel like a player's going to get the Hart Trophy.
I think so too. I mean, if you were ever going to give it to a goalie, this would be the year with some of the stats that Hellebuck has. I think they'll probably give it to forward, or I kind of was leaning Leon. I don't know how just because he's leading the league in goals. He was basically, like you talked about before, the Oilers' main source of offense. Even McDavid was struggling there.
Yeah, I like, that's who I would vote for, because same as you, that's the team I follow the most, and he's definitely dragged the corpse of that team to 3 pretty big wins, like in the last week, when you're missing 4 regulars in the lineup and somehow they're still putting W's together. I just worry about they say he may not come back now again until the playoffs, but that could just be a load management type thing too. So see how it weighs out. I will say, I got, so heading different award, the Art Ross right now, like if you wanted to get on today, Nate McKinnon is even money to win the Art Ross right now, which I don't think that's a crazy bet. I believe Kucherov was -115, so you can go either way. Like, you could almost hedge it and come out on top.
Like, are they pretty much tied in points right now?
I think McKinnon is up by 1, but Kucherov has more games remaining.
Well, that'll be an interesting one to come down to the wire here. How about the Norris Trophy? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's got to be Makar, right? Like, who else is even in the picture?
I mean, a lot of people are making the case for Zach Werenski on Columbus.
That's
but my note was the same. I don't know how you can watch Makar for more than a game or two and not just be like, hands down, he's the best defenseman in the league.
Yeah, Werenski's definitely right there too. It's just, if you look at the standings, I'm going to go with the better team with the better record for sure on the defensive side. Although it's not really a defensive award anymore. It seems like whoever's putting up the numbers is the best defenseman, but that's a good call. I mean, if Quinn Hughes wouldn't have missed so much time, maybe he's in the picture a little stronger too, but it's got to be Makar.
I agree. So let's zip over to the Calder Trophy here. We got a first overall pick, Celebrini, who we talked about having a good year. Lane Hudson on D for the Canadians, a front runner right now. And then another goalie in the picture, Wolf over in Calgary. But The odds-on favorite here is Lane Hudson. Where do you land on that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much done. I checked the odds on that when we came on, and he's currently minus 1,500 to win the Calder. I think it's sewn up, unless Celebrini puts up 30 points in the last 10 games or something. And the fact that he's doing it as an undersized defenseman and putting up the points, and he's just so fun to watch too. And obviously they're in the playoff hunt. I think it's another one that's sewn up.
Yeah, I agree. Almost a point per game as a D-man in your rookie season. He's just electric to watch. Another guy that is going to be, great to watch over the next decade or so. Same with Celebrini. The game of hockey's in a good place right now in terms of, the veteran talent that's leading the way. Guys in their prime right now, McDavid, McKinnon and the crew, and this great crop of young talent. So it's going to be exciting stuff over the next several years. Vezina Trophy, probably not even worth spending more than 5 seconds debating that one. Hellebuck, 43 wins, 7 shutouts, 924 save percentage. Case closed.
Yeah, I don't even think they had odds listed for him for that. It's not even in question anymore.
So let's shift on to Lady Byng. Actually, that's one I didn't check. One I personally could almost care less about. I almost feel like they could remove this award and nobody would be too broken up about it. But what are the odds saying there?
They actually don't even have it listed. That's how much they don't even care about it. There was no numbers for the Lady Byng, so I think we can, like you said, that's good. We're good for the Lady Byng.
The Selke. I skipped over the Selke here. I think, again, we got a pretty heavy favorite. Barkov minus 1,500 on that one.
Yeah, it's not even close.
So in terms of player awards, the only one that really is kind of up for debate, it seems like, is the Hart Trophy and then the Art Ross, but obviously that's not a voted on thing. In terms of the ones that are voted on, the Hart Trophy is the only one that really is open for debate, it feels like.
Yeah, and it's kind of exciting that it's going to come down to the last little bit. Because, usually by now you'd have an odds-on favorite, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the Hart, you could make a compelling case for 4 different guys in there, so it'll be interesting. Let's wrap things up from an award standpoint with the Jack Adams. Where do you land on this one?
It's got to be Carberry from Washington. What a crazy job. Oh, they just skip into the playoffs last year, get absolutely crushed. And I kind of expected this team to be fighting for that 8th spot again. And here they are now, top of the East. I believe they have the top seed in the whole league now because Winnipeg dropped a couple. That's pretty unbelievable. And to do it all with this goal chase going on too, that's got to be a bit of a distraction every night. So to keep stacking W's and they're going to have home ice advantage, pretty impressive. But you got to also look to Jim Montgomery there, to get fired and then to take over a new team and just go on this run. I think if it wasn't for Washington, he's probably the favorite, right? I would think.
What he's done there is crazy in terms of turning that team around, but you kind of got to give it to the guy that's built the foundation, done it from training camp all through the year. We got a President's Trophy winner, like you said, managing through all the distractions and doing it when, they weren't really expected to be a top tier team. I think he'll get it, but honorable mention for Montgomery. And what's crazy about Montgomery, he just won a Jack Adams in 2023, so he's basically only a year and a half removed from that when Boston fired him. You got to be scratching your head if you're a Bruins fan thinking, what the hell did we let this guy go for? He's so sought after that he gets within 2 days of getting fired. St. Louis fires their coach and hires him, and he's creates one of the biggest turnarounds we've seen in the regular season.
Well, especially if Boston was just going to tear it down anyways. What was the point of firing? I didn't understand that at all. It's not like injecting a new coach was going to fire Boston back up either. Pretty puzzling move, but great for the Blues.
Moving on here, we wanted to talk to you about the new TV deal that the NHL signed with Rogers. $11 billion, almost double from what they paid before. It's exciting in the sense of just representing where hockey's going, the popularity of the sport. But I can't say I love Rogers in terms of the innovation that they bring. How do you think this new deal impacts us over the next few years?
So I look at it two ways. I'm with you on the Rogers thing. It would have been nice if somebody else stepped up. But on the other hand, I at least like that I know where the games are going to be on. Like, perfect example, the baseball season starts. So I can't watch the first game because I'm working. Next day, second game of the year at home, I go to turn it on. Oh, now it's on an Apple TV exclusive. So unless I have Apple TV, I can't watch the Jays game. Same with the NFL. Like, they got games on 4 different providers all the time. So at least with Rogers having it, I know if I want to watch it, awesome. I know where to find it. Another thing that I don't like is the stupid blackouts. Like, it's 2025. Why can I watch, I can watch Vegas play Anaheim, but if the Leafs are playing, I can't watch the Ottawa game because it's blacked out in my area. Like, it's so ridiculous.
That is an irritating component of it for sure. And I talk about the innovation with Rogers, but at the end of the day, you just want a good, like you said, I think the consistency is the most important thing. And I do like kind of what TNT's doing, bringing a little bit more personality to it, but I think Rogers can still subcontract these games out to Amazon and other broadcasters. Probably in the big picture isn't going to impact us too much, and just kind of an interesting sign of that's all that money for the NHL is going to be a good thing from a salary cap perspective and the ability to keep growing the game. So switching gears here, I wanted to talk to you about a fight in the Capitals-Canes game earlier this week. Things got pretty heated. That's a good divisional rivalry, and that would be cool to see those two meet up. And things got pretty chippy at the end of the game. But there was a fight between Chatworth. Am I saying that right? Is it
Chatfield?
Chatfield, yeah. I was thinking of the little town in our area, but no, yeah, Chatfield fighting McMichael, and kind of did this sort of judo takedown slew foot thing, which feels like it's not really part of the hockey code. But what just freaked me out when I saw the highlight for the first time is he slammed him down as hard as he could. His head bashed off the ice pretty good, and luckily he didn't do anything crazy. But just when I saw that, I thought, you could fucking kill a guy doing.
Yeah, the force that he threw him down with was unbelievable. Like, I know you're in the moment and you're pissed off, but when you see that, his helmet's already off, you gotta kind of ease up on that. And most fighters, like, I don't think Chatfield's a known fighter, but most fighters will at least tie the guy up a little bit if they're going down. Or is he just fucking tossed?
Yeah, there's like a general ode to the fighting that feels like that's outside the unwritten rules of fighting, and just dangerous. Like, it kind of made me think, like, literally, if he would have bashed his head a few inches in a different angle or whatever, like, you literally could kill somebody. And like, what if somebody died in an NHL fight? That would it would change the whole perspective on the game. It would be quite a dark moment, and maybe even cause the league to rethink the whole fighting in general, which I'd hate to lose. It's a great part of the game, but there's got to be some respect there. And the fact that he didn't even get suspended, to me, is a missed opportunity for the league to send a message saying, like, this is not okay. Like, if I was the league, I would want to be drawing a clear line in the sand that this is not acceptable. I don't know. Maybe I'm clutching my pearls here a little bit, but
No, I agree. It was dirty as hell. And so I'm pretty sure they play each other again before the end of the year. So I think if you see Ovi get this goal record Sunday, I think there's going to be some retribution going on for Chatfield.
yeah, he could be seeing a heavy dose of Tom Wilson in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully.
Well, I'm glad McMichael's okay. Okay, moving along, let's cover our last topic here for the weekly hazing. I wanted to talk to you about this new rule between the CHL and the NCAA, which now allows CHL players to move on to the NCAA. Where in the past, once you started playing in the CHL, you're considered going professional, so you were no longer eligible for NCAA hockey. But this rule change is a game changer, I think, in terms of how we're going to see, junior hockey and NCAA hockey. But what was your reaction when you saw it?
I think this is awesome. The small amount of NCAA hockey that I've watched already, I don't know, it looks different than OHL hockey to me. And I don't know if it's just because they're a little bit older and you've got this high end talent, maybe not across so many teams, like there's probably 20, 25 teams that are legit contenders in the NCAA. But you start getting, like, I don't know, I'll just throw out a name, but say you throw Easton Cowan into the NCAA next year. Like all of a sudden, here's a super high end guy that's stepping into a program that's already got, probably 5 or 6 guys that are going to be going to the league. Not that the OHL doesn't, but I do think it's a little watered down. But not only that, is now these guys can make some money too, right? You got the NIL stuff. If you're playing in Owen Sound and you're making $450 a month or whatever they get, and then say Michigan comes along and says, "Do you want to come here and we'll give you 50 grand?" I think it's such a great opportunity for these young guys.
I agree. I think it's a win-win. It's a great opportunity for the players. They have the flexibility of, playing a few years in the CHL when they're, 16, 17, 18, and then still getting the academic experience if they want that. But more importantly, I think it's, a lot of these guys at 18, 19, they may not be ready to go into the NHL directly, so they'd be playing in the AHL for a couple years a lot of times anyway. So instead of that, you can go into the NCAA. You're continuing your development there, and we're already seeing with guys like Leonard and Snuggerud and Perreault, these high-end guys that are going directly from NCAA right into their NHL teams just before a playoff run here. It benefits the players, and I think we're just scratching the surface now of what NCAA hockey is going to be like. I think there's a wave building here. As I think the popularity is going to go up because you could see a guy like Gavin McKenna. Maybe he may not be the best example because he's going to be kind of NHL ready pretty much right after he gets drafted. But you're going to have some high-end CHL players that may just want to, just for the experience, to have that extra year or two in the NCAA.
Absolutely. And I don't think McKenna's that crazy of a call because he's 17. What if Michigan says, "Hey, why don't you come down here for your last year, play at a little higher level?" And he's not going to improve his draft stock because he's probably going first overall anyways. But it's another level of experience that I think would benefit all these guys. I think you're 100% right. NCAA hockey is going to go through the roof in the next couple of years.
I'm pumped because you're going to watch the NCAA tournament. Each team is going to be now, as more and more CHL guys go there for a couple of years, it's almost going to be like World Juniors where half the team is high-end draft picks. But instead of just seeing it in the case of the World Juniors where you're seeing it for a couple of weeks where the teams slap together, you're seeing them on teams that they've played with all year combined with the exciting style of the college hockey, the exciting format of their playoffs with that single elimination.
It's the best.
I think we're just scratching the surface in terms of where NCAA hockey is going to go.
And TSN's already getting out in front of it. I believe they're showing both games Thursday and the final Saturday, so be able to watch it too.
So now time for the report card.
I've been reviewing your work. Quite frankly, it stinks. These reports you handed in, it's almost as if you have no business training at all.
Charlie, why don't you kick us off with your first grading of the week?
All right. Right off the hop, I got a nice big A for Ryan Leonard, who made his NHL debut this week. I scored a goal last night, and, to go from the NCAA tournament to step right into the NHL, I mean, last night he was probably, other than Ovechkin taking the spotlight, he was probably the most noticeable guy on the ice for Washington. And maybe that's just the ignorance of youth, but he was out there hitting guys. He was making plays. He set up Dubois. He put one on a platter for him, but he fanned on the shot. He got the nice empty netter, but it was just fun to watch, like somebody who's, coming into this race, and he's seizing the moment, that's for sure. And I think they got a good one there, so I'm gonna give him an A.
I'm going A plus. I'm sticking on the draft just prospect side of things, and I'm giving it an A plus to Gavin McKenna. Not exactly breaking news here that he's a good player, but just to put it in perspective, they just beat Swift Current Broncos in 5 games to move on to the second round of the WHL playoffs. 16 points in 5 games. This guy's just a machine. He's not even draft eligible until next year. He'd be the first overall pick if he was in this year's draft. Scoring at a clip like this, it's just crazy to see. So just not exactly, late breaking news that he's good, but A plus for that first round performance. Let's see where it keeps going from here.
Next up, I don't know, is F plus better or worse? But I got an F plus for Dominic Hasek, who this week took to social media to tell everybody that they shouldn't be celebrating the future NHL all-time goal leader because he was born in a country that's, wreaking havoc. International politics aside, what are you trying to gain by trying to, put this guy down because of where he was born? It's just such a stupid take, and just a hard F all around.
All right, well, I'm going A for the Montreal Canadiens crowd. You kind of touched on it earlier. Ever since watching Four Nations at those games in Montreal, the energy of that crowd, the way they understand the game, the way they bring it night after night, and then watching Canadiens games as they've been going down this playoff run, it's hard to beat that atmosphere, and I hope the Canadiens make it into the playoffs. I just want to see what that atmosphere is going to be like. So solid A to the Montreal Canadiens fan base and the Bell Center.
Okay, and then my final one, I've got A for Wayne Gretzky, who sort of got thrown into this circus, but he's going through it like a champ, and to give these impromptu interviews when he probably has nothing prepared. But I thought he said something really great last night when they asked him about the record being tied. And he mentioned that when himself, Messier, and when they retired and Yager and those guys, and he was saying, so what happens now? But then just giving a complete nod to this new wave of superstars, and a lot of the old heads kind of get stuck in their own era. But for him to just, say, these guys are the next guys, and all I got to do is tip my cap to the skill level and the consistency. So give an A for Wayne.
Nice. I'm going to finish things off with an F. I'm going to go non-hockey related, but I'm giving an F to April Fool's Day. What I think is just the dumbest holiday. We just passed it, and I always wonder, who is this holiday for? Like, who wants to be pranked on April Fool's Day? Maybe it's for kids, but Charlie, we've known each other for almost 40 years. I've never heard either of us tell a story about, remember that awesome April Fool's Day prank that was so hilarious when we were younger? I don't see the point of this holiday. I think it's the dumbest thing, and I'm ready to retire that holiday. So F for April Fool's Day. Okay, that wraps up the report card segment. Looking forward to our playoff preview episode, Charlie. We're going to be recording that on the 16th, dropping it on the 18th. Good Friday. The playoffs start on the 19th, so we'll have that out to all the listeners the day before playoffs to get hyped and ready for that. Hoping to have a few friends of the podcast on for that episode to bring a few different perspectives. So that's going to be great. Any other exciting things here you wanted to touch on?
Got our classic episode coming up. This will be out next week. We're going back to 93. Toronto Maple Leafs versus LA Kings, Game 6. Probably one of the most controversial hockey games as far as Leaf fans are concerned. It was an absolute joy to watch. Like, I can't believe how good a game it was, and I'm just excited to get into that.
Yeah, so if you're listening and you're interested, what an amazing game. We're going to drop this episode. It'll be a week from this episode that you're hearing now. So if you want and you've got time, go to YouTube, watch the game. You won't be disappointed. Intensity like I haven't seen in a while in a hockey game. And we're going to be breaking it all down on that classic episode. So that's going to be great. Also, just wanted to give a shout out. Masters also coming up this week. Love the majors, but especially the Masters. It really kind of gets you into the summer mood. As the tournament's going on, I start pulling out my little putting mat, start polishing up the irons. And by the time the last round's over, I'm ready to head out to the driving range thinking I'm Rory McIlroy. It just fires me up. So we'll probably have a few Masters picks on the IG. So just watch for those. We're going to have a few good bets there. Speaking of bets, follow us on Instagram if you're not already, because the Hazy Sports picks on the NHL side of things have been hitting at a pretty good clip. What's the record at now, Charlie?
We're 32-22, but we've been on fire. We've been like this past week, I think we're hitting at about 80%, which is kind of unheard of. So probably a big drop off coming.
Yeah, we might have just done the old jinx here, but it's fun, follow along anyways. We're trying to ride the wave here, make a little money for the summer, and we'll definitely have some picks for the Masters and the upcoming playoffs. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff coming. I'm fired up and looking forward to connecting with you for the classic episode, Charlie.
Sure.
All right. Well, you have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.